$5,000 a year out of the hotel motel tax, and that would give us approximately $14 million. And that's how we figured out how much money we had to spend on the whole project. So what we would do, the bond issue using $1 million of hotel motel tax money will provide approximately $14 million. That's for the construction of the facility and the grounds. The good news is Public Works has already got it lined up that they will be doing a mass grading over there, and all the grading and all that work can be done out of their budget without coming out of this 14. The 14 million will wind up being just the building for and the pickleball courts and that kind of thing, and the pool, obviously. We put all this together. The layout on Clements Road, asked Rob Porter with Civil Site Design Group, Sam Anderson with Anderson Architects. If I'm not mistaken, I think I misspelled architect. Sam, I apologize. Steve Robinson with Phoenix Builders, and Steve is really good at giving estimates on building, that kind of thing. So those three were asked to donate their services up until the point where they could actually do the layouts. All right, they would do the layout of the property, they would do the layout of the building. Sam, man, you'll see it in just a minute, actually went in and set the pool up and what it was going to look like inside of the building and some other things. And we'll be talking about those. He's got some papers also we'll be looking at. And Steve Robinson was looking at the amount, the cost, and I think it was around 170. Rob Porter, I'm going to ask you about $170 per square foot. 200, okay, approximately 200 then per square foot. So you see where we're going with this. The layout on the property, you can see there's a road coming in here. Most of you do know that the East Hill Street is going to be continued on across that property and come onto this 14 acres. So the East Hill is actually splitting the property, and that road would need to be completed also. You'll also see where the gymnasium and the pool construction would be, and all the parking. I don't know if there's maybe it's a little dark to see up there, up next to Clemens Road by the Weymouth station, but you'll see there's the pickleball courts. They're up there close to the road, parking, of course, behind them. Can anybody see that? Okay. Evidently, I didn't do the building, Sam, so we'll look at that one. He's got that on the paper for us to look at anyway. The pool would be an Olympic-sized pool. Sam's got that laid out to where there are lanes, 2 sets of lanes, I think 8 lanes each, and then an area in the middle of that pool would be for water aerobics and I know. Remember, I apologize to the mayor. If y'all will notice, there's a great big red A. Yeah. Tina thinks that that's for the Atlanta Braves. It's actually, for the Alabama, but it's actually for the Atlanta Braves, what that is, Mayor. Oh, okay. Well, I tried. I was trying to deflect that one. So. The basketball court layouts, again, we're going to see all this here in just a minute. We're talking about doing 2 initially, possibly 4, depending on what our funds look like. Volleyball and the pickleball courts be laid out, and what we do is wind up striping those so that they can be used. Some of those be used simultaneously with the basketball or other sports, volleyball, badminton, things of that nature. I wanted to do an indoor walking track, which would be Rob using a word, I think mezzanine is the phrase is used, that would be above the gym floor. Community input and community meetings at City Hall for conversation. I'm wanting to have, Mayor, and give everybody an opportunity to come in here and tell us what they want to see. I want this to be a city park. The city owns it. The city's paying for it. Asking for commissioners to appoint people to the committee. We want to get all the concepts and all the ideas, and we'll wind up asking for a bond issue. What I'd probably like to do is go ahead and get that bond issue put in place during the next budget anyway. But this is kind of the way it's going to lay out. We get it all done. We have the RFPs will be developed for the solicitation of the bids. The bids will be received and accepted. Construction begins, construction completed, then kids play. That is as simple as it gets. Now, what I would like to do, Once we get to this point, I'm done. I've done this before. I'm done. I'm out. At that point, what I would ask that we have commission members. Ms. Mullally is we call her the pickleball queen. And she has some experience with the Monday Park pickleball courts and things up there. So I would like for her to work with the construction folks and design folks as to how she would like to see that done. We've got a huge 50,000 plus or minus square foot building out there. We've got Vice Mayor Trevette, who does this stuff for a living. So it'd be kind of dumb. I'm a retired police officer. What I know about these kind of buildings would fit in a thimble. What I would like would be for him to join the design crew and work with them individually. I've asked Commissioner Hefner to work with Dana Hire to work on the financing end of this. And then I'm going to sit back and vote when y'all tell me to vote. And of course, the mayor, the good news is you're going to get credit for it regardless because you're the mayor, son. Or the blame, one or the other. We both know how that works. So that's kind of that's where we're going. That's where we're at. If you got questions, ask them. If I can't answer them, I'll make something up. Just let me know. Any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. So obviously, appreciate you pulling this all together. And so do we have a budgetary number on what this is going to cost us, an annual cost?
Looking to put it together, it's square footage. Again, it's going to be 200. Now, as far as the maintenance and
Yeah, maintenance wise.
no, that's Rocky has been working with the folks up at the Jimmy Floyd Center in Lebanon.
Yep.
To get some of those numbers.
Yeah, I talked to Alex.
Jimmy Floyd, we talked to Alex today. We had a meeting, Melinda and I did. His budget costs around for his with the older buildings around 1.5 million a year to run.
Yep.
Now his offset with revenue, which is they bring in there at 1.1. And his goal is, and he thinks you can receive this and make it happen, is for this thing to pay for itself, to be a break even at the end of the year. And that's the goal here, is to break even and not have any burden on taxpayers.
Yeah. So when I talked to Alex, because it sounds like we all kind of reached back out to him, and also what I did was, I'd really like, because I was talking to Kenny Martin about this several months ago, and I reiterated to him a couple weeks ago, which was to see whether or not if the commissioners as well as the Parks Board maybe go and do some road trips or maybe some field trips to go look at some other surrounding communities to kind of get some different flavors.
There was one I will point out that was it Bowling Green, Kentucky?
Yeah.
I think it is. That is a lot like what we're talking about here, and we want to take a trip and go up there and look at that. And they say it's super, super nice.
So originally, I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, the biggest thing for me is to make sure that, we break even every year. Obviously, talking to Alex, talking to it's a franchise of a YMCA as well as a civic center. And initially when I had brought this up 2.5 years ago, and again, I'm glad we didn't sell that land. Not that I was in favor of selling the 22 acres, but it was just the fact that it was in order for us to get to buy the additional 4 acres there was a vision there, somebody else selling it. So, but either way, there's a couple of things that I was looking at, which was seeing if we had an opportunity to also have a partnership with maybe whether if it's the hospitals that are here locally to look at, see if there's an opportunity for maybe some physical therapy type thing, or doctor's offices to be able to merge with this, make it an actual true civic center, to be able to have it 100% cost for the maintenance side of it and long-term. So this way it's not a burden on the city and we're not taking back away from the hotel motel tax, because it's a great idea to look at the hotel motel tax, but if we look at what we give out to the different programs within our city and we start, chipping away at that, because, when our budget comes up here, we give out a lot of donations, right? So, and I don't know what we give.
That's not coming out of the hotel motel tax.
I thought some of it was.
No.
None of it's coming out of it. It's all 100% parks.
Yes, sir.
Oh, general fund.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
coming out of the general fund. Yeah.
Okay. But either way, so I think, for the residents to be thinking about this 3 different ways is to be looking at, is it just going to be this is going to be the size of it to mirror like a Jimmy Floyd, 50,000 square foot, because that's about the size of Jimmy Floyd. I think they're on 8 acres. But at the same time, do we have an opportunity to look at future growth, right? That's something that we can add on to the building and start being able to chip away at seeing what other opportunities are. I know there was some discussion with our schools for some type of partnership with them as well. Did we get a chance to talk to Luttrell about that?
I did. One of the challenges that we've got is that TSSAA does not recognize swimming as a state sport. So
Yeah.
Now I will tell you, I'm reaching out to Mayor Hutto. When we built the community center down here, the one that stands now, I think it was the budget at that point was $749,000, and I wound up getting another $100,000 from the county government. So we wound up with $849,000, and that's how we wound up with the paving that goes around by where the project playground is and that stuff. So that was the entire piece over there was $849,000 entirely for the community center and the paving. And we built both sides of that so they could be built out and expanded on both ends, which is where the Pentatonic room comes from. And I don't know if anything on the other side has been built out if it's a project.
No.
So I think it's kind of limited now that we put the tennis courts over there and the pickleball courts, but there was expansion built out on, or used on that property as well. I'm hoping to get with the county and see if they can't help us with some budget numbers and put some money into this, if nothing else, for the pools. We'll see how that goes. So anybody and everybody, that wants to jump on and ride up there and go sit with Randall Hutto and visit with him, I think is welcome.
Yeah. So we went from 11 million to 13 million now, or 14 million, or was that just a budgetary?
When I threw the number out, originally starting out was $800,000 to $900,000, and that was the number that Rocky was talking about. And then he came back with the expansion of up to $1 million. Probably can't go over that without hurting anything else that we might need for capital improvements throughout the park system. So if we got 1.3 to 1.6, we'll assume I'm going to call it 450,000. There's 450,000 used for capital improvement projects every year on top of what we'd be spending for the bond issue. So the bond issue comes in at 3.5%. I'm looking at Ms. Hire to make sure. Somewhere around 3.5% is what the bond issue would come back in, which puts us at $995,000 a year coming out of the hotel motel tax. So our taxpayers aren't paying for it. The tourists are paying for a huge quality of life upgrade, I think.
Now, obviously, like when Alex and I were talking, he was saying the $1.6 million for operation budget was right around 11 employees for the wintertime, 35 employees for the summertime, and that was not including any type of capital projects. If something broke down, anything over $25,000 would have to go back to the city and be able to get approved from their board as well. So he said if he could look back on doing anything differently, he said he would look back and hope that that they can be able to have something else in their budget, to be able to start looking at, like the replacement as well as upkeep. So he said that upkeep is right around $500,000 a year, just an upkeep. And in order, he said the first 5 years, it was great is what they were saying. But after that, it was pretty much every year was a capital project. And it was almost $500,000 for, between the pools, resurfacing them, the concrete, the parking lots, the roof, all of the, the HVAC, the electrical, as well as all of that. So it was just that expenditure. So, I think the other concern here obviously is, I think it's important to utilize the Parks Board. I think it's great to have a committee, and I think put the pressure back, or not pressure, but get the support back with the committee. But I think the committee should report to the Parks Board, and then Parks Board report to the commission. That way we follow the chain of command. Is that okay?
Yes, that's exactly what I was looking to do. And I don't know if you saw the resolution or not, but you've got one person from the commission, one person from the Parks Board, and then you've got another person from the chamber, and then you've got 3 business owners in the area. And then I had initially said 3 individuals, and then I got thinking about it. That doesn't allow for all 5 of us to have an appointee on there. So what I would ask at that point would be, we just go from, instead of doing 9, we do 11, and all 5 of us would have an appointee as well as on that. Now, that group would directly report to the Parks Board. And then the Parks Board would make a yay or nay decision as to what to send to us as a city commission. So you're following the exact same trail that you're talking about at this point.
That's great.
Like I said, when it comes to, and we get all the preliminary stuff out of the way, and that's when I would ask that, when we start talking about buildings and programs and things of that nature, is when Commissioner Mullally would be involved in the pickleball side. You would be involved, obviously, in the building and the maintenance side of that. Commissioner Hefner would be involved in the finance side, working with Ms. Hire to make sure that, we're getting exactly what we need. And then he can also keep us updated with reports to the commission as it goes through the process.
So when it comes to the size of the pools or pool, is it, obviously it may go back to the designer, but so how many yards is it, or?
It's
It's
50
an-
meters.
Yeah, it's an Olympic-sized
Yeah.
pool.
50 meters?
Yeah, 50 meters with bulkheads, 2 bulkheads at least 4 feet wide. So it's longer than 50 meters by 8 feet or so. 172, I had it on here. There we go.
168. I think it's
170,
172
172 2 inches. That's with the
Yeah.
bulkhead.
with the bucket.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we can go back to the screen where you have it just like the concept plan with the parking lot? Is there opportunity for future growth with the current design of the parking lot? Or is it just coming off the backside of that building there?
That would be a Rob Porter question.
This particular layout maxes out what we've got. Porter, come up here for the.
Because the other question that I would have is, let's just say, for example, if we've got 22 acres and I know the original thought
There was 10 that would, Public Works is talking about.
were promised to Public Works, but
Right.
let's just say, for example, let's say we have to borrow from Paul to pay Pete, you know what I mean? And let's just say, yeah, land-wise, like there's other opportunity to give them not such prime real estate, right? When it comes to opportunity.
They're asking for, and we're talking about a mass grading of 24 total acres, I think it is. So that mass grading, you're looking at probably 3 million that they're going to be asking for in the budget to do the mass grading. Remember how when we were out there looking
Yeah.
at it, it drops
It
off?
drops off, yeah.
They're going to take and level that entire piece, the entire 24 acres. That's kind of the way we get away with not having to use this money for any of the earthwork. That gets done as they're doing the mass grading. We identify the location of the buildings. They can go and do the site preparation for us. And so that comes off of that cost.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as hijacking, 4 or 5 acres of public works, we'll have to listen to Matt White cry, but
It'll be all right.
yeah, he'll be okay on it. Yeah, okay, I'm good with
We'll give them a membership, right?
that. Yeah.
So.
Now, you're asking Rob about.
Yeah, so Rob, so obviously, it's all about grabbing as much as possible when it comes to, the area, but I see some space back there that's kind of like in some V's up towards the front as well as the back. Is this exceeding all of the surface area here?
We have pretty much maxed out what we think, at least at this point, what we're talking about building. The piece to the east of that large parking lot, we're anticipating have to have stormwater quality features, whether it's a detention pond or water quality features, whatever. Then there might be a little bit of space on the north behind the WEMA station that we're really not knowing what we're going to do. That's just an odd shaped triangle. But everything else is pretty much from front to back, side to side. This was what I think is probably a maxed out site. I think we end up with about 400 parking spaces, and the building is what I think would be a full build out. Whether that's what you build to begin with or not, we don't know yet. So we've sort of gone in with what the site could max out at. If you need more than that, you got to have more land, because that's pretty tight.
I think Jones Brothers owns a lot of that land behind there, correct?
Yep, it's
Yeah.
always for sale.
Yeah.
Looking to make a deal, I hear.
I will tell you. and
More
Ray-
memberships, right?
Ray brought up the mass grading. It's kind of funny. If you use this site, this 14 acres for that use, you don't have to grade as much. It's a pretty flat site.
Mhm.
That site there will minimize your grading cost and won't be as much as what they were grading it for the public works use. So that development will cost a little bit less on grading.
So where's the public works use going to go?
Well, they're keeping 10 acres on the south. What beyond that do they need? I don't know.
Down here, yes.
So we still got the 10 acres for them. What was the square footage of the proposed building?
The buildings were 50,000 plus minus square feet.
So what's shown up there is more than probably 50,000 square feet, right?
I think 54,000 total on that piece.
Because I have kind of a base, what I was proposing to do a base building was at 42,000 square feet.
And how much more would it go to cost to go to second floor? I mean, obviously you can't do it over pools. I get that. But I'm saying for some of the other parts of the building to go up to a second floor to be able to add in other types of, different rec centers, if it's possibility to, because I've seen some of these locations that have pickleball and racquetball on second floors. And that's not that expensive because the concrete on the floor is not that, it's not that big of a deal if you're going to a second floor and you're just looking for a 4 to 6 inch concrete base, right?
Now, you've gone completely out of my scale. I have no idea. I will tell you this, one of the things that Alex did say up at the Jimmy Floyd Center, if he had it to do again, he would never build another racquetball court.
Yeah.
He told us that.
Yeah. He also said, don't ever do a flat roof, which I understand why.
Yeah. I think that was costing them some major problems now
Mhm.
with maintenance.
It is.
So the footprint you're looking at here actually shows the full build out with 4 gymnasium floors, the max pool, everything's kind of maxed out on that.
Yeah.
Sam just indicated that the plan he's got in front of you probably only has 2 gym floors and probably a little bit smaller. Everything that we're anticipating right now, I'm sure is all high bay. I
Mhm.
doubt if you're going to get a second floor on what that is. There's always in the future, there's always, if you run out of land and you have to go up, you put a parking deck in and take part of the parking lot and expand the buildings. There's ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Costs money, but there's always ways to do it.
This part is kind of what we were thinking of expansion of the basketball court coming this direction, the metal building, you can just keep going. So that was the expansion there. There is like a mezzanine layer or level for the pool viewing.
The walking track around the top.
Well, in the pool, there's a elevated seating area.
Hmm.
So I was proposing to have the roof single slope to the north, and the high side would have the extra seating above that. There's the walking track around the upper level of the basketball court. And I know everybody's against the flat roof, but if you had the middle core, and I don't know where our plans are of the facility here, but you could put a flat roof there and put all your mechanical units on top of that with the parapet.
We actually had a conversation about where to put mechanical units when they were talking about the police department. And I think Bill was instrumental in getting that changed, if I'm not mistaken.
We did. Yeah.
So that it was actually in a little more.
Cost effective. I mean, it's great on the front end, but on the back end for the landowner or the building owner, it costs way more at the end. So it just doesn't make a good. It's cheaper on the front end, but not on the back end. Is that clear?
What do we think the cost is going to be of the building, roughly square footage?
Steve's not here. Steve Robinson's our estimating guy. The building, the other day when we were talking, that number has actually been a hit or miss. So it's been 170, is when 185, and then 200. So,
Now, is that including the pool and all the extras inside of it?
So you're looking at just the building itself, at 50,000 square feet, it's going to be around 10 million.
I guess my fear is
That's $200 a square foot. By the way.
yeah, that's. I guess my fear with all this is we've thrown a lot out there for the public to ingest on all this, and then we've got a kind of a set budget if we're going to do it off just hotel motel tax. So it doesn't allow us a lot of wiggle room if we're going to change things without getting into sales or property tax or something else out of the general fund. I guess I'm hopeful, but I'll see what the plan is that we can pull together that's going to feasibly work in the budget. I'm looking at Cookville's one that they got proposed, and it says their costs are coming in 35 to 40 million. So I know somewhere there's a delta between there that, and there's just like 70,000 square feet. So it's a little bit bigger facility, but I'm still backing that out. If you just look at the, if you just did it on square footage, I think it's like $557 a square foot. Maybe they're buying land with that. I don't know where the numbers come from, but there's a big delta between the two.
If I may throw this out, one of the reasons that I backed into this was to figure out what we could afford first. Okay, so that I knew we were comfortable, or Parks Department in this case was comfortable anyway, with $1 million a year coming out of that hotel motel tax. So we know with that $1 million, it's going to be about $14 million. Now, if it comes back in and they say, okay, we're not going to get 4 basketball courts, we're going to get 2 basketball courts. Okay, well, now we start backing down to figure out what we can afford. I don't want to get into something where all of a sudden we start out at 10 to 14 million, somewhere in that area, and all of a sudden we're at 23 million. That sounds a lot like the police department. And I don't think we need to bite off that one again. So.
Well, that's what I fear a little bit on that. It starts ratcheting up.
Well, and that's what I would
bring
say.
The expectations down here and go up instead of setting them up here, then have to come down.
Well, and that's the reason that I would, when talking to Rob and talking to Sam as well, when we were talking about this, anything that we build would be built so that it could be added on to. Maybe instead of having 10 pickleball courts initially, we have 6 or 8. Or maybe instead of tennis courts, we don't have any tennis courts. We put them in a second phase later on when we can afford it, when we have a bunch more people living in or visiting Mount Juliet. But I mean, there's any number of ways that we can cut that number back. I will tell you that most of the time when I've seen these things go on, people go out here and try to build the Taj Mahal. Mm-hmm. And then they figure out, okay, this is what we're going to get and this is what it's going to cost. And that's completely backwards from the way I did this. Honestly, the way I did this was to figure out what we could afford based on the numbers that I got from Rocky and Tina and some of the others, and then came back into it. It worked 24 years ago with this community center. So that's how we wound up with the one we got now, and it's the size that it is now. Is because we backed into it to figure out how much we could afford rather than go out and try and get something really extravagant.
So how many members do we forecast to see on this? So let's just back up first. So for a building like this, is there a projected, let's just say, occupancy that we could be able to efficiently, manage this right here? So is there a projection number that we're looking at trying to accomplish? Because that is going to help offset the additional cost, right? The membership. So if we mirror what like a YMCA or Jimmy Floyd or any other center out there, a civic center, there's going to be a cost. And if we look at a membership, let's just say on average, I think Jimmy Floyd, just throwing it out there, I think was between $425 up to $575 is what they were charging for a family of 4
For a year?
per year.
Per
Yes,
year.
sir. Yep. And they said 9 months is really what the pool is get used for, about 9 months out of the year. But they said right now all the schools that have a swimming program uses their system. So
Do they pay anything for that? It's curious.
it's more of a partnership is what he said. They have a very small fee that doesn't, and he said it basically, I don't want to quote him, but he says it basically pays the light bill is what he said.
For them, the period of time they're in there.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. It's very, very minimal. It's kind of like what we do anyways, but again, it's all about breaking even. So if we look at, looking at, some type of partnership there. So what's the occupancy of this building? Have we got it? Have we dug that deep yet? Okay.
No, this is pretty preliminary at this
Yeah.
point. Let me throw this out too. when we built the community center, the one down here now, for the first 3 years, it was a ghost town. Nobody was in there. And I caught considerable heat from the mayor and some of his cronies at the time that were in there for having built. Oh, I'll call them cronies. I don't have a problem with it.
I say it different, Mayor.
Okay. But, and it was about year 4. Don't know what happened in year 4, but all of a sudden it exploded.
Great traction.
It's like somebody discovered, oh, wait a minute, we got a community center, and it went nuts. Rocky?
If I could, with only the community center we have now, with only the gym to offer, we have over 1,700 members at $100 a year. I don't
That's
think
awesome.
membership is going to be a problem. I think
Okay.
they're going to be lining up. Capacity, as standing line, I think is going to be our biggest problem.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's so, I mean, just if we took the 1,700, we times it by the 450. Okay. And obviously we got about 50,000 people in the city. So, and I think a family of 5, not a family of 4. I think we went up to that. That's still 7.6. That's 765,000 just in memberships, with just at 1,700 residents. So,
Right.
and that's where I'm looking at wanting to make sure, because again, I'm not trying to bring another city here to Mount Juliet. We are our own city, but I do know what works. And that's where I was looking at again, where we can be able to have that, like that small coffee shop, to be able to have that partnership where
That was one in Indiana was it Indiana? Or
it's
the
Mason,
North?
Ohio.
Ohio.
And Mason, Ohio, they have, it is by far the Taj Mahal, but at the same time, like they don't make a profit. They pay for their entire staff. They pay for all the maintenance. They've got a long-term projection cost, and they've got that partnership when it comes to the hospital. So that's where I was looking at just the conversation, that there's an opportunity there to help offset that cost and be able to go down that path. And again, like this is all just conversations, but but I do want to kind of see what other opportunities, see if Matt and his team would consider, because again, if this is going to grow to what we think it is, not to add on additional costs, but it's like the construction crew is already there, right? So if we can at least kind of give us a good baseline with this committee, as well as everything for future growth. Our city's growing fast, so there's an opportunity here, but at the same time, I'd like to be able to grab as much as we can the first time around, not the second time around.
The only thing, and I talked to former Mayor Wainick, the one that got me and drug me into this stuff, and he had used the phrase revenue neutral. And I told him then it was never going to be revenue neutral. Don't even expect it.
Yeah.
This one probably stands a better chance of getting closer to that. But truth be known, when in 2003, when myself and Mayor Haggerty talked about parks and things of that nature, one of the things that we talked about was that parks are a welfare agency within a municipality. They're never going to bring in the amount of money they're going to spend when it comes to this. And that's the reason that in 2007, we started trying to figure out ways to add a regular revenue stream to the Parks and Recreation. That's where that amendment came from. I don't want to stand up here and mislead anybody to thinking this is going to be revenue neutral, that it's
No, I
ever going to,
understand.
because I just don't think it will be. Now, if we're close, if we're $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, but my way of looking at this is that we've got 2 distinct purposes in the city of Mount Juliet, and that is, number 1, provide safety. Number 2 is provide a quality of life. This nails the quality of life issue that we've had. Any question of it, I believe, goes away when we get this accomplished. And I didn't say if we get this accomplished. I said when we get it accomplished.
Yeah.
So, that's where we're going. Like I said, in '98, that's where I came on. When this thing's finished, I'm out. So this is, I'm really, really, my heart's in it.
Not to throw a curveball in all this, but is there an opportunity, since we already have the land, to look at an opportunity to see if there's a partnership with any other, like a YMCA or anything like that, to be able to take some of this burden?
I've actually talked to the YMCA, and they were not interested in coming out here and building anything. They want benefactors to build everything. And so in this particular case, they're looking at the taxpayers of the city of Mount Juliet being their benefactor. So we could probably get them in here to help us with the project, with the management of it, working along those lines, putting programs in here. hesitate to do that because, to be honest with you, I think we relinquish some of the control that we might have. And I don't want to take any control away from Rocky and his team. They do an amazing job with the Parks Department that we've got in the city of Mount Juliet, and I don't think we need to be messing with it. So if it ain't broke, I don't want to fix it. But there is an opportunity, I think, probably to work with them, get some of the programs, like you were talking about, the hospitals and stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean, it just, long term, it's just an opportunity. I mean, if it's something that can be done, it's great. But I think it's important for us to at least look and see what our neighbors are doing and see what's worked and what doesn't work. And we can just start chipping away at all of that. I actually had a PowerPoint also that I wanted to share, but, this meeting got pushed up a week, so I'm not quite there. And I had some other family things going on, but I would like to be able to at least kind of throw back out some additional ideas. I'll send it out to Rocky, and then he can send it out to anybody that wants to get on the, like the email list. But I think, this committee, or even before we build this committee, I think there needs to be a simple, almost like a survey monkey goes out to the citizens and be able to kind of see what options that we have to, see what they have, thrown in our pot here, and then we can start chipping away and working from there.
Yeah, I tried that on the incredibly unhip Mount Juliet.
Oh,
And,
that's dangerous.
oh,
You're a
it was-
brave person for that one.
No, I went and hid in a corner and crawled into a closet and started crying. So
Yeah.
the people are vicious.
Well, survey monkeys
So-
are real easy. You
here's
can
what I
only
was
comment
suggesting.
in yes or no. So
Here's what I would suggest on that is that we have a couple of meetings, just public meetings, maybe one at the Rutland Elementary School. We have one over here at the high school, and we ask people to come and talk to us about what they want. And it's kind of it's a chance also for us to go one-on-one with some of these folks and listen to what they've got to say. I generally do these 2 or 3 times a year anyway. So it'd be a perfect opportunity if y'all are interested in doing that one night. I can ask Justin Beasley, I think, to help us set that up.
And just to clarify, a few years ago, we did do a survey monkey, and the pool and the gyms are the number one. Another basketball gym and pools they rank 1 and 2 all through every survey we've done.
I would say, I think the mayor said we had allotted an hour for this, and we're coming up on that. And you and I have kind of tied the whole thing up, but I mean, if y'all have any questions or any thoughts you want to throw out there, Chip?
Maybe it's left field, but.
Can
if
you
wanna
come to the
generate- Okay.
podium?
Microphone.
Maybe it's a bad idea, I don't know, but if we want to generate revenue, what about naming rights on the center for 5 years?
yeah.
What about the Costco Center?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cash a
get it.
great big check,
Yeah.
they get free advertising,
Yeah.
defers the cost.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
They don't have any control over the building, they just get the name, just like a stadium,
Just like Nissan.
just like it.
Yep.
I mean, I grew up going to Arrowhead, but it's not Arrowhead anymore in Kansas City. It's the GEHA Insurance Center now,
Ooh, Hudson.
which I hate,
Sailor.
but the Chiefs love it because it makes money.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, great idea. Thank you.
I'll see if CJ's got a check for that.
I will tell you also, we did that at the league. The last year I was president down there, we got with Two Rivers Ford. And I set up a 10-year contract with them. Every 10 years that it goes up, I think it's $20,000 the first 10 years, goes to $30,000 the second 10 years. And so they're actually contributing. That's the reason they've got they took their naming rights of the field down there. So that's actually a good idea. It works, has worked.
Commissioner Mullally.
On the committee, we had briefly talked about a member from BPAC possibly being on it. So I don't know if that's still an idea.
Yes, ma'am. It is absolutely an idea. The idea was, and I don't have the paper with me where we put down the names, but we had, trying to remember, we had somebody from we had Tina and Mark Heisley from the chamber, had Sean Glover, Sherry Arnold, and there was another one, I can't remember the name.
Chris Houston.
Chris Houston, thank you. Yeah, Chris Houston from Houston's. And then those are the 3 businesses. So we don't have the 5 appointees. If you would want to appoint somebody that was like a BPAC member as your person, or if you want me to, that's fine too. I've actually got somebody I wanted to put on there, and as my appointee, which is Chip over here. But I mean, you know what, this thing, it's not like they're voting to make any concrete decisions. So if we've got an odd or an even number, it's okay. I mean, I don't think there's a rule out there that says we have to have it. So if you want, I think, and I did initially say we wanted somebody from the BPAC committee because there's going to be some trails out there. You know,
So probably would it be fair to say somewhere between 42,000 square feet and 54,000 square feet,
yes,
maybe somewhere in there?
depending on, and I think if you'll remember, dictated by use and dictated by cost.
Well, I like the idea of like the public, like at Rutland or, you know, wherever we hold it or in the high school, invite the public.
Any large project we do, and I think Justin went with me when I did the WA Wright thing last year, did something over at the Mount Juliet High School. You may wind up with 10 people, you may wind up with 50 people. Who knows? But it gives them an opportunity to actually go out and see us face to face and have a conversation. I've been doing that for 21 years.
Call it
So,
a pickleball meeting and the place will be packed.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, tell everybody to bring their pickleball paddles, and yeah, we won't get rid of them.
So is there any way we could set up a blast email just for the board and then also for the Parks Board as well as these folks that are donating their time just to be able to throw out some questions to them as they are chipping away at these designs or something? Or, because again, it's just more of a, to give us a baseline, right? So
What I would suggest, and yeah, and yes, it's a good idea because we need to make sure the flow of information is good, it's constant, and it's consistent, and it just doesn't stop. We want information constantly. What I would suggest is that we send out to the board and send out to, for instance, Tina, and let Tina share with the Parks Board, because otherwise we're going to wind up with 30 people, everybody sending questions in, and
Sure.
it wind up blowing up. I mean, if that's okay with y'all,
Before we do anything with email blast and communication that way, let's bounce that off our attorney and make sure we're not going to run into anything with sunshine laws.
well, true. We wind up with, anytime you get the board commission together, we,
There's
it's
probably
funny
a
how
way to
the
do it.
law does everything in its power to keep us from being successful, so. But that is a good idea. You're right. But, and if you want, as the information comes in, if you want to, and they can send it to me, and I send it to everybody, and then send it to Tina, and she sends it to everybody. We do it like that. That would work probably. That way we know we're not violating the sunshine law, and then anybody knows, all the board knows not to respond directly into a group text, so that, or a group message. What do you think about that, Mayor?
Hey, there's a
Would that
way to
work?
do it, and we'll have people smarter than myself pin that down.
All right. So it's 6:27. I know Commissioner Mullally, you got a BPAC meeting to go through, I think. So if anybody has any more questions, I'm here. Sam's here. Rob's right here. Feel free to ask questions. Like I said before we started, if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. We'll get you an answer.
Anything else to add? Questions, comments?
Oh, one other thing. Sam Anderson's got some layouts for the pools and different things for you to look at. That it would probably answer maybe some questions that you've got if you look at those, because he's got them colored. He uses great crayons.
Yeah.
All right. Any other takers? Comments?
Thank y'all.
Questions? Concerns? All right. Seeing none, if there's no objections, we'll adjourn. Hearing no objection, we're adjourned.